learn about Miss Cinderella. You've never heard of Cinderella? From Disney? Okay. Well, we have two sides of our Cinderella story that we're going to be listening to today. So I really want you guys to focus on some of these points of view that we've been talking about. So just to recap, can someone tell me what point of view is? Preston, what's point of view?
I'll give it to him.
Like the narrators or characters in the stories, it's like how sometimes if they're like for example, like the pig and the wolf, their point of view were different. All the pigs thought they were actually trying to let their house down and eat them.
Okay.
But the wolf, all he wanted was sugar.
Yeah. So kind of like someone's side to a story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe how you remembered something, Preston, might not be the way I remembered something, right? So that can be what point of view is. Alright, so I'm actually going to read this one to you. And then I'm going to put this on the document camera. Alright. So Cinderella. Once upon a time there was a beautiful girl whose mother died when she was very young. After a time her father married a widow with 2 daughters. The young girl's new stepmother gave her own daughters new clothes, good food, soft beds, but gave her stepdaughter only hand-me-down dresses, leftover scraps to eat, and a hard cot to sleep on. The poor young girl had to work all day, and only when evening came was she allowed to sit for a while by the fire, near the cinders. That is how she got her nickname, for everyone called her Cinderella. And there she is, sitting by the fire. One day, the 2 stepsisters came home with beautiful new dresses. There was to be a ball at the palace, and everyone was invited. "We are so excited! Tonight we will dance with the prince!" exclaimed the stepsisters. "He is so very handsome." Cinderella wished she could go to the ball too, but she did not even dare to ask. She knew that her stepsisters and stepmother would just laugh at her. Cinderella helped her stepsisters dress in their new gowns and watched sadly as they rode off in a carriage to the ball. So you see they're all in their nice new dresses and Cinderella's all dirty over here. So just after the carriage disappeared down the road, there was a burst of light and a fairy appeared. "I am your fairy godmother," said the fairy. "The wind blew your wishes to me, and I know you want to go to the ball, and so you shall." "How can I?" Cinderella replied. "I am dressed in rags. The guards will turn me away." The fairy smiled. She waved her magic wand, and suddenly Cinderella was wearing a beautiful dress and tiny glass slippers. "Now we must find you a coach and some horses to pull it. Run to the garden and fetch me a pumpkin," her fairy godmother said. So she's in a nice, beautiful dress, and there's her fairy godmother. Cinderella rushed to the garden and returned with a fine pumpkin. "Perfect!" exclaimed the fairy. With a wave of her magic wand, she turned the pumpkin into a splendid coach. 6 little white mice and one rat scampered by. The fairy waved her wand, the mice became 6 white horses, and the rat became a coachman. As Cinderella prepared to ride off in her coach, her fairy godmother told her, "The prince will be enchanted by your loveliness, but you must leave the ball before the last stroke of midnight, for that is when the spell will be broken. Your coach will turn back into a pumpkin, the horses will become mice again, and the coachman will turn back into a rat. You will again be dressed in rags." So the fairy godmother is telling her at 12, it's all going to disappear. Cinderella promised to leave the ball before midnight, and off she went in her pumpkin coach to the ball. A hush fell over the ballroom as Cinderella entered. Everyone stopped to admire her beauty and grace. Who can that be? People asked each other. Even Cinderella's 2 stepsisters wondered who the lovely newcomer was. They did not guess that the beautiful girl was really Cinderella. The prince looked at Cinderella and was overwhelmed by her beauty. Walking over to her, he bowed deeply and asked her to dance. For the rest of the evening, he danced only with Cinderella. "You are enchanting," he told her. What does enchanting mean? So what does enchanting mean? Yeah, like he is just head over heels thinking she is beautiful. So then Cinderella heard the clock strike the first stroke of midnight. Without a word of goodbye to the prince, she turned and ran out of the ballroom and down the steps toward her coach. The prince followed, but he could not catch her. As Cinderella ran, she lost one of her tiny glass slippers. The prince found her slipper and put it in his pocket. He went to the gate and asked the guards, "Did you see a beautiful girl run by? Where did she go?" The guards told the prince they had only seen a servant girl dressed in rags. And there she is in her rags. And look at all the mice. The rat on the pumpkin. The next day, the prince announced, "I will marry the girl whose foot fits in this glass slipper." He sent one of his guards to ask all of the ladies in the land to try on the slipper. When the guard arrived at the home of Cinderella, her 2 sisters tried on the slipper, but their feet were too large for the dainty shoe. "May I try on the slipper?" asked Cinderella. Cinderella sat down and the guard placed the slipper on her foot. It went on very easily, fitting Cinderella's foot perfectly. Her 2 stepsisters were astonished, but she wasn't at the ball, they cried. Suddenly, Cinderella's fairy godmother appeared. She waved her wand, and Cinderella's rags turned into a beautiful dress. The stepsisters realized that Cinderella was the beautiful lady they had seen at the ball. They threw themselves at her feet and begged her pardon for how badly they had treated her. Cinderella married the prince and went to live with him at the palace. She did not forget her stepsisters, because she was both beautiful and kind. She asked her 2 stepsisters to move into the palace as well. Soon the stepsisters married 2 handsome lords, and everyone lived happily ever after. So what is Cinderella's point of view in this story? Who wants to tell me what her point of view is? Josh, what do you think her point of view is?
She wanted to go to the ball, but her stepmom.
Okay.
She knew her stepmom was her. Then her fairy godmother came, and she wanted.
So Cinderella's point of view was that she was treated pretty badly, right? By who?
By her stepmom and stepsister.
Okay, so she was treated pretty badly by her stepmother and stepsisters. And then who came and saved her? The fairy godmother.